Hey there. So, the day is finally wound down, the world outside has gone totally still, and maybe you're just looking for a bit of peace. Well, today we're diving into a really beautiful, deeply comforting concept from some ancient scriptural texts in this explainer. It's a central theme that is incredibly simple, but man is it profound. The idea is just this: you are never alone, and God is watching over you tonight. Let's get right into it. Okay, think about the sheer quietness of the night. We all know this feeling, right? When the sun goes down, the hustle, the noise, the million distractions of your busy day, they just sort of evaporate. You're left sitting there in a quiet room. And actually, psychology backs this up. Studies show that when sensory input drops off at night, our brains just naturally turn inward. Because we aren't distracted by the outside world anymore, the stillness of the night can actually act like a megaphone for our internal anxieties. When the physical world gets quiet, our own minds can suddenly get very, very loud, making us feel incredibly isolated.
And, that brings up a really direct, honest question for us. Do you feel a little lonely right now? It's a tough, vulnerable thing to admit. I completely get it. But if the night feels quiet and you're feeling even just a little bit of that ache of loneliness, I want you to know that this explainer is made specifically for you in this exact moment. It tackles that totally universal human experience of feeling entirely on our own the second the lights go out.
But here is the absolute core reassurance we're focusing on today. Your Father is right there beside you. You are seen and you are deeply, deeply loved. Now, we tend to instinctively think, almost by default, that physical solitude equals spiritual abandonment. We convince ourselves, well, no one's physically in the room with me, so I must be completely alone, right? But these ancient texts argue the exact opposite. They assert that even in a completely empty room, you are entirely seen and you are fiercely loved.
To really ground this idea, it helps to start with a simple, incredibly vulnerable prayer for the lonely heart. It just says, remind us that your presence is near. It is such a quiet, honest request, isn't it? And it acknowledges a very basic truth about human nature. We forget. We just forget. When we're lonely, all those heavy feelings totally cloud our memory, and we simply need a reminder. It's a foundational plea to just become aware of what is already there, a constant, unwavering presence. And that yearning is so beautifully answered in Psalm 139. It asks this massive, profound question: where can I go from your spirit? Where can I flee from your presence? It's a powerful, rhetorical question from the writer, deeply exploring our ultimate spatial and spiritual limits. The author is essentially asking, is there any corner of the entire universe, any dark room at 3 a.m, where I am completely outside of this presence? And the answer is a resounding no. So let's break down the actual theology behind that psalm. It's rooted in this concept called divine omnipresence. Basically, it's the reality that God's presence surrounds us completely and constantly, no matter our location. And the absolutely crucial word to hold on to there is constantly. It means there is literally no dark corner, no isolated state of mind, and definitely no quiet bedroom where you are out of sight. Being physically by yourself, it has absolutely zero bearing on this divine reality.
Now, this is a vital contrast to recognize. On one hand, you have your human feelings, telling you that you are lonely, unseen, isolated. And hey, these are very real, very heavy emotions that the night brings out. But on the other hand, you have these enduring textual promises meant to gently shift your perspective. They say you are actually surrounded, deeply loved, and fully known. This isn't about dismissing your human feelings, not at all. It's just reminding you that your feelings of isolation, while completely valid to you in the moment, don't actually reflect the ultimate bedrock truth of your situation. The truth is, you are surrounded.
All right, so we've got this vast, almost cosmic idea of omnipresence, right? But the book of John, specifically chapter 14, shifts this to something beautifully personal. It outlines the promise of the Holy Spirit. This is essentially the specific, deeply personal mechanism of how this constant presence is actually provided to you. It answers the big how, like how is God actually watching over you tonight? It's through this dedicated, active promise.
Let's actually look at the specifics of this promise from John 14. To see what it means for us in a practical sense. The Holy Spirit is described as a constant companion, a source of comfort, and an unseen but very real presence. The whole concept here is a dedicated comforter. And that is fascinating because it means this isn't just some distant, passive observer watching from afar. It's an active presence meant to bring peace specifically to those who are feeling alone. It's totally real, even if it remains entirely unseen to our physical eyes. It is so easy, we all do it, to let the physical silence of the room dictate exactly how we feel on the inside. but we really have to weigh the quietness of the room against the presence of the Spirit. The physical emptiness of your bedroom simply does not equal an absence of divine presence. The quietness, that's just the physical state of the room. But the presence of the Spirit is the overwhelming spiritual reality of your existence. They're happening at the exact same time, but it is the Spirit that truly defines your environment.
So how do we actually apply this incredible reassurance right now as you prepare to rest? It boils down to 3 simple steps. First, acknowledge His presence. Just take a deep breath and mentally recognize the reality of what Psalm 139 promises. You are not alone. Second, release your worries. Consciously, actively let go of the anxieties that this quiet night brought to the surface. And finally, step 3, rest in His constant watch. You do not have to stay on guard tonight. Why? Because you are actively being watched over.
Which brings us to one final, really crucial question to leave you with. Will you choose to yield your worries and rest in this unseen presence tonight? We've explored some seriously profound promises from these ancient texts today, guarantees that you are seen and you are fiercely loved, no matter how isolating the night feels. The knowledge is right there, beautifully structured in these realities of omnipresence and comfort. The invitation is entirely open to you. So as you eventually close your eyes, I strongly encourage you to hold on to this one thought. You are never alone. Sleep well.